Good afternoon. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. We are working on our Workforce Development Week webinars, and our topic this week is interviewing. We're going to talk today a little bit about interactive interviewing tips that we have with our Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder. And as you can see on the screen, once you're in the system, you can just click the interview prep and you're on your way, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get started. If you're using the Illinois Resume Builder tool, you may have done your assessment, you may have gotten your skills done, your resume could be done, you've got your letters done, your video resume is done, and your website is done. But what about interviews? We always need to make sure that we're very prepared for when we attend an interview. So let me do a poll question real quick. See how many of you have used the Illinois WorkNet Resume Builder tool? Oh, that's great. We've got some good numbers coming in. I like seeing that. We do have an hour-long webinar that we recorded for the resume tool. We do have plans to create some how-to videos that we're going to post and share as well. So check back for those. We'll have those out in a news item shortly. So today, what we're going to be covering is the resume tool. And as I pointed out a little bit earlier, there is an interview prep section of the tool. And all you have to do is log in with your Illinois WorkNet user ID. So if you don't have one, this is a really good reason to create one. By a show of hands, how many of you have an Illinois WorkNet user account? Oh, yay. We've got a lot of the people. A lot of the people on the call today already have an Illinois WorkNet user account. That's a great thing to have because we share news and information, and it gives you access to this fabulous, fabulous resume tool that we have. So let's move forward with our presentation, and let's talk about how you can create some interviews. So on Illinois WorkNet, the resume building tool provides you this option to practice your interviews where you can see and hear your responses. All you have to do is select the interview pod, and that's this item right here in the dashboard of the tool. Once you've selected this, you create a new interview. I just sneezed, I apologize. And then name your interview. And as we move forward, once you are in and have created a new one, you can select the type of interview that you want to do. There's all kinds of options. You can check on a final interview, a panel interview. Those are always very stressful, so maybe practicing some of those questions might be good. Sometimes you might be faced with a high-pressure interview, or maybe it's just that screening interview that happens maybe over a phone call. So all you have to do is hover over the category to see the different questions that are included in that particular type of interview practice. You can always take a look at all the questions. This one has 20, and I just showed on the screen about 12 of them. So taking a look at the different questions is a really good idea of whether or not you want to participate with this practice session or not. And as a reminder, if you did not already download the handout, it is in the Files 3 pod that's in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Let me bring out another poll question right now and find out, what do you guys do? So before an interview, Good. We've got some good answers coming in. And it looks like a lot of you are doing the things that you need to be doing before your interview. And with this second item on the questions, before an interview, I practice questions. This is exactly the tool you need to use to help you accomplish that goal. Let's hide that poll and move on. So one of the items is inappropriate questions. And we always have to wonder about what are those kind of questions that you know they're not supposed to be asking you, but sometimes they kind of come up anyway. Those questions include skeletons. Have you been arrested? Have you had any illnesses? What are the different kinds of drugs you use? They're not supposed to ask you about religious affiliation or your financial status. Anything that's related to ages, like your graduation dates, any family or child care questions, any political affiliations, and your national origin. They're not supposed to ask you those kind of questions. But in this section of the interview tool, you have the ability to take a look at these questions and see what they should or shouldn't be answering you and how you can deal with it. The other thing that's available to you with the internet version of this practice tool is for you to practice either with video, where you can record your voice and image. You can practice with audio only, where you would just record your voice, listen to whether you're doing the ums and ands and uhs. And so you can text your answers where you would type them in, or you can just listen to the question, formulate in your brain, and then listen to the coach's response to how you might really want to review that. Then, after you've made all of your selections, the practice session actually opens up. And in this image that's on the screen, it shows you in the red circle how many questions are in this series of questions. And you can see on the screen that we have the interviewer who is going to read the question to you. In the second box, you can see what the recorded answer would be from you, the candidate. And in this case, it's me because my name's there. Or you can see the coach's response. So this is a great way for this to help you. If you want to, as I suggested earlier, you want to just hear the appropriate response from the coach, you can listen by playing the audio, or you can read what the appropriate response would be. This is a great tool because you can hear it and then read it, and it really embeds in your brain about what it is that you need to say or need to listen to say for that response. You can also build your own interview, and it's really great. You've got all of these different categories. You can talk about achievements, business, decision-making, goals, industry-specific questions. And if you look on the image on the left-hand side of the screen, we've got law, medical, nursing, dental. There's quite a few different specific industry questions available. What are inappropriate ones? Interpersonal and people skills, an introduction question, motivation and work ethic, professionalism, skills and abilities, strengths and weaknesses, work style and culture fit. And many, many, many of these items are what we covered yesterday in one of our webinars as the intangibles. We call those soft skills with Illinois WorkNet. And Chelsea, if you want to take a moment and post into the chat pod the news item with the link for yesterday's webinars on IT and manufacturing, people might want to take a listen to those if they happened to have missed them. Now, what I liked when I saw this Autumn, you may want to refresh your screen for the chat pod. It could be the image that you just can't see. Also, when you choose audio and video and connect your webcam, you can see up here in this top image that it's going to ask you for approval. And once you exit the program, then all you have to do is it will automatically disconnect your camera, so you don't have to worry about it seeing other things down the road. Once you've done that, then you can choose your response, complete the recording, and then you can redo it if you want to. You can play it so that you can watch it, and or you can save it, which is a great idea. So maybe you did your response, and then you want to go over and listen to what the coach says, read the response down here. So it's a great practice tool for you. The best part about all of this is you have the ability to share the recordings with a career coach to get some feedback. How many of you, let's do a show of hands, how many of you have practiced interview questions and then did that practice with a career coach? Great. Looks like several of you have. That's really good. So now let's pull out our last poll question here. When you practice questions, what do you do? And if you have another method, perhaps you can type that into the chat pod so that others might be able to learn from your experience. Do you have somebody typing? Looks like many of you have selected to do mock interviews with a friend or a coach. By a show of hands, do they record those mock interviews for you? Oh, I like Lisa's idea of saying the answers in front of a mirror so you can see how you are coming across to someone else. It's very much like what this video recording will do for you is it will let you see your interaction. So that's really great. The best part about this is you can combine several of your answers into one video and save it as a YouTube video to create an online interview that you can share with others and or share what you've recorded with a coach. So that's a really great tool for you to do. So my suggestion to you is if you are using this tool to practice, get yourself dressed up. Pretend that you're actually at an interview and practice those questions in front of your camera, your webcam, just as if you were actually going to be at that interview. So do we have any questions from the audience? We can take a look at any of the parts that you would like to look at and see if you have any other questions. Just a reminder, if you did not download the presentation, it is in the lower left-hand corner of the window. And you can have all of these slides for your future reference as you are trying to use the resume tool for Illinois WorkNet. So that's it for today, folks. We do have our, we have a couple of questions or a couple of comments here. What about eye contact and your hands if you get nervous? That's something that you need to practice, and it might be a little bit more of a challenge with a webcam because sometimes the webcams don't really grab the hole from the waist up. One thing that I've tried to do is hold a pen in my hand or cross my hands and place them on the desk. I happen to be a hand talker. In fact, I'm using my hands right now as I'm talking on this webinar, and none of you can see me. So take your hands and fold them and place them on the table in front of you. That might help you with the fidget factor that we talked about in a couple of the other webinars. So that's really a great way to practice that eye contact in hands. The access to the webinar, Natasha just put the link to Illinois WorkNet in the chat pod. All you have to do is go to the Prepare section of the Individuals page and use that tool. Now, if you do have an Illinois WorkNet account, it makes it one step quicker. Otherwise, all you have to do is register and create an Illinois WorkNet account for yourself. Carlos just said this new form is great, Dee. I started my computer career back in the 70s, and to me, this new way to do it makes it very challenging to include it all, video, voice, text. Thank you. All right. And do we have any other questions from the audience? I agree with Pat. This is a great tool. It's really exciting, and it's got just so many tools available. And as I said early in the broadcast, we will be putting together a short how-to series for each section of the resume tool, so that if you are using it, all you have to do is open up the little video part. It'll tell you how to use it with real hands-on, and we'll get that out to you sometime in September. So thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate your time. We hope you were able to pick up a couple of things. And let's answer a couple more questions before we leave. We've got a question about upgrading certifications. That's a WIA question, a Workforce Investment Act question. So if you want to go to, if Chelsea can find us the link to the locations and post that, then Carlos, you can look for the location closest to you and talk to them about upgrading your certifications. Linda asked, are the rules for dressing for an interview the same? My suggestion to people who are going to be going to an interview is when somebody calls you to set up the interview, ask them what the company dress code is, and then dress at least with the minimum of the company dress code. If you have enough time to do that dry run to check your travel time, try to travel at a before work hours or a leaving work hours, and then you can check in the parking lot to see how people are dressed. That way you can find a gauge of what is appropriate to wear to work and then dress one step better. The safest thing is always to be overdressed than underdressed. So Linda, did that answer your question? All right. All right. Well, we're going to close our webinar today. If you want to stay on to check the links that Chelsea has placed in the chat pod, we'll leave the webinar open for a while. Please check back at 2:30 to hear about the healthcare interview process. Have a great rest of your day.